Hi guys, Ron here and welcome to the workshop. Today I want to unveil the most important part of my cross-country race bike build, and that's the frame set. So most of you will probably notice that this is a brand new S-Works Epic full suspension frame. Although I have to say this is not a regular, if there is such thing, a regular S-Works Epic frame set, because this is the raw finished so-called ultralight S-Works Epic. And what's the deal with that, you may ask? Now this frame wasn't really advertised too much. In fact, I only stumbled upon it by chance, but it uses the same super light paint job as on the S-Works Tarmac Ultralight, so that saves a good 200 grams or so, or at least that's what they claim, over the standard frame set. And indeed, I've just weighed this frame with all the hardware, the shock and everything in it that you get in the box as it is, and it comes up at 1900 grams basically for size medium. And no matter how you look at it, that's just super light for a full suspension frame. So why did I choose this one? Well, I have to be honest, my first choice of course was a track to complement my other bikes that I already have in the lineup. But the deal breaker for me in the track frame was that it can hold only one water bottle, and you know, it's quite hot in here in the summer, so basically with one bottle I'm bound to rides no longer than 1 hour, and I rarely do those, particularly on a mountain bike. And where I live there aren't really many water fountains to be found, so that's just not the way I wanted to do or go. Other options that I was looking at were the Cannondale Scalpo SI, so the new full suspension version, but unfortunately that wasn't really available. Then as another option I was looking at the Canyon Lux, but by the time I got to ordering it, basically because I really liked it, there weren't really any frame sets available in time basically for my racing season, or the races I'm planning to do this year. And another thing with other frames, including the track and the Canyon, was the fact that they all come with Fox shocks. So in my previous video where I showed the fork, I have better connections with SRAM and RockShox that way, so I really wanted to run a SID because I have better availability for service and everything. So I would have mismatched suspension in the other frames, and that's not something I would like. I was also looking at the Orbea, the new oils, but that's only going to be available I think sometime in the spring of next year, so that's definitely not the time I wanted to wait. And going back to Canyon, another reason I didn't want to get it, or I didn't get it eventually, was because, well, for Canyon, it's direct sales brand. I couldn't really get it any cheaper than the list price, only the amount that comes with my UCI license discount, whereas brands that are sold through regular dealer networks, I can get my hands on those products at dealer prices. So for me, you know, when I decided to sell any one item that I buy like this, I lose, well, basically very little or no money in it, so it's a better kind of investment in the long run. Then back to the frame itself and from boring financial stuff. What's special about the Epic? We already talked about the weight. You also can't really ignore the fact that it's one of the winningest bikes in cross-country racing there ever was. The geometry is spot on. It has longer reach than my current Cannondale, lower stack, so that's very good. It has a threaded bottom bracket. I don't really have any problems with press fit, but you know, having it threaded is just a joy to work on. So that's a nice feature. And then the thing I also wanted to try was the brain suspension system. So I'm sure that all of you have heard about it now. What it does essentially is there's a inertia valve in this rear part of the suspension which controls the oil flow to the shock, and this gives you basically automatic lockout. So when you get a hit from the ground, from some kind of bump, this activates the shock, otherwise it's always locked out. So we've got hardtail pedaling efficiency with full suspension capability. So this is probably the most special feature of the new Epic. Many of you have been asking about the dropper post. For now, I'm not going to use one. I'm going to use a standard fixed post. The thing is that I come from, well, at least in the off-road perspective, I come from a moto background, and there I'm really used to, you know, controlling the bike with my thighs, with my legs. And I find that if I have the saddle really really low down, then I just can't do that, and it's kind of a weird feeling to me. So for now I'm sticking with a fixed post. It also comes with a headset. Now the upper part is a zero stack version, so that's excellent for a race bike like this, particularly in the smaller sizes. It's sometimes a lot of trouble to get enough drop to get your desired position. As for the lower cup, I replaced that with the Cane Creek 110 with the sealed lower race, just to keep it more protected from the elements. Fork-wise, the regular S-Works frame sets come with an S-Works seat post and a RockShox SID with a brain damper in it. Now this one doesn't, this only comes as a frame only, and you can't really buy the Epic specific short 42mm offset SID separately. So what I have here, I've already talked about this previously, was a regular SID, World Cup that is, with a standard Charger 2 damper with the remote lockout, and a 51mm offset. Now this changes the geometry slightly compared to if you were to buy a full bike, a full Epic. So it should, in theory, have a little more trail to it, a little more lively, a little less stable. That's not a big deal for me, at least on paper. We'll see how it rides. The frame, as I said, has this very thin black matte layer. It's kind of a clear coat really, but there's no any carbon weave visible underneath, so it's kind of interesting. Then the S-Works logo is reflective. It isn't really visible in these shots, but it really pops on the light. And you do get some other clever features as well. For example, above the BB, this is a little plastic chain drop protector. Then there's a molded rubber chainstay protector, so no need to apply helicopter tape here. It comes with a bolt-through axle, really nicely finished. Different bottle cage mounting options. So as I said, this frame fits 2 full-size water bottles, so that's very neat for me. And I have to say the whole frame is extremely well finished. The track also have very high standards, but I was quite surprised, you know, just how clean and how high-end, how premium this whole frame looks. You know, it's just spotless, all of the little details and the manufacturing quality. I'm quite staggered by that, to be honest. And I'm really happy about that. Definitely not going to regret getting this one. It also has some pre-applied protective tape underneath the down tube and comes with a little rubber protector. So these are actually the things that come with the frame set. I just put it in some better light here. So you get foam tubing to prevent the cables from rattling. Actually, the frame uses it's swung by specific, and it uses full length housing pre-routed, but there are also guiding tubes molded in, so it should be pretty easy to cable up, and it goes full length outer all the way to the rear mac. So no cable stops, no anything, no dirt getting into the cables. This is the little part that secures the brake hose and the cables on the down tube. As I said, the bike comes with a complete headset, a couple of spacers, star nut. I can't use this one because it has a carbon steer. This is the standard crown race. First I applied this, but then I realized I have a Cane Creek 110 lower bearing, so I decided to use that. After all, this bike is going to be used off-road, so any extra protection in a lower headset bearing is going to be worthwhile. And these are some minor rubber parts, some plugs for a frame port, which I'm not going to use. So I've yet to figure this out. This is probably a rubber protector, again for some part of the frame, possibly the bottom bracket, and of course the manual with the CD, obligatory stuff. So this is the frame as it sits. Basically I have all the parts that I need to build it up, except the seat post, the handlebar and the wheels. I'm waiting for those from my supplier, and then hopefully when those arrive I will show you those in a separate video, and then we can start building up this bad boy. I really hope that it won't be much heavier than my Cannondale. From my predictions, it probably won't. Perhaps even if I take a wild guess, it might be very close or even a tiny bit lighter, but we're yet to see. If you want to know more about my other bikes and some other cool cycling related stuff, then don't forget to tune into the channel later on and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.